Hey guys, welcome to the Build with Tech podcast. This is your host, Ray Ortega here, and I have a special show for you today. This is the president and CEO of Fabulous Events, and this gentleman was a Microsoft tech person years ago. His friend asked him to come help him run his business, started working as a DJ, started selling linens, and has built a successful business out of it. And the great thing about it, he tells a story about how he incorporates technology in order to be able to be successful at his business. And so he's going to tell you this whole story right here on the podcast. But before I take you to the podcast, first of all, I want you to like and follow. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Go over to my school community. It's the Build with Tech school community. If you actually go to school, SKOOL, and you go /build-with-tech, you will get to my school community. Sign up as a member. It's free temporarily. It's obviously going to go up. There's going to be a price to it later, but whoever's in now is going to be grandfathered in free for the rest of life. So check that out, and I will see you. And let's get this podcast started.
This is the Build with Tech podcast, where we dive into the minds of business leaders, building tech-enabled businesses to launch and scale profitable enterprises. With your host, Ray Ortega.
Welcome, Lyle Brous, to the show here at Build with Tech podcast. Lyle, how's it going?
It's going great.
I know we had a conversation before about your company and what you've done. Now, this show, we focus primarily on people who are trying to start a business or they're in a business and they're trying to figure out how technology can help them build their business. At the same time, we give a little bit of tips and tricks about entrepreneurship. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
So Lyle, tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in your own business.
Oh, how I got started. So my whole career has been in the tech industry. My last job that I retired from was Microsoft and worked in the automotive before that. And back in 1985, I had a good family friend who owned a DJ company ask me to come work with him. I said, sure, why not? And it was a matter of 5 or 6 years, and I wound up opening my own company. Subsequently, we added on a video company with that. And then back in 2003, we added on a nationwide linen rental. And it just kept growing from there and had great staff running the company. And eventually, I left my day job and went to do this full time.
Awesome. Now, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur, like a long-term entrepreneur, or is this something like you fell into when you were working and figured you just want to do something on your own?
No, I think that for me, I'm always wanting to run a business, start a business. I've got a couple other companies, and we're always looking for what we want to do moving forward. Do we want to start another business? And if so, what is that?
Yeah.
So I'm constantly, the wheels are spinning in my head. As my wife would say, I'll never retire.
Yeah. I understand completely. I've been running businesses since I was like 16, 17 years old. I've gone back and forth from working a job to going back to running a business and back and forth. How do you feel like your career has been in that? Have you gone back and forth, or did you just go start working first and then you found yourself building your own business at that point?
Yeah, I started out working for other companies, and then while I was doing that, started building a business, and ultimately got to the point where I wanted to put my focus on the business, wanted to really change the course that I was on, and didn't really want to work for somebody else. And I've had opportunities that have come up since then, but it hasn't been really what I want.
Yeah.
I like running the business, and I like our staff, and we have a great company.
That's awesome. And you said how long you've been in business?
We have been in business doing the linen and the rentals nationwide for 21 years.
I want to dig further into that whole conversation, because I remember we were talking about it. You were telling your story about how you got into linen, because originally you were talking about you're doing video and you're doing entertainment, the entertainment side, and then you moved into linens. Explain that story, how you guys made that transition.
So like I said, I started out as a DJ doing weddings and events, kept me very busy, primarily weekends and nights. Over time, we decided to add on a video company because I felt that I had a captive audience. I had clients coming to me to do their event. Ultimately, I saw a trend where people were bringing in share covers of linens into the venues because what the venues had was just basic and simple. I started adding that on. Ultimately, in 2005, I decided to shut down the DJ and video company. And by 2006, we were just doing full time was the rental. We got out of the entertainment side of it.
Yeah. And you said before that you also were involved in tech, right? How involved were you in the tech industry before that?
I worked for Ford Motor Company for a while, and I was their network manager for all the vehicle operations, and then worked for Comerica Bank as their third level system engineer. And then eventually I got a call from Microsoft, interviewed with them, actually turned down the job offer the first time, which is probably unheard of, somebody turning a job down from Microsoft. And they came back to me a year later, and I ultimately joined them at that point.
What was the reason why you turned it down?
It was originally for a job that was going to be in Michigan, and that's where I lived at the time. And the client that they wanted me to come on board to take care of wasn't going to move forward. So they offered me the opportunity if I wanted to move down to Las Colinas, Texas, which is Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I elected to say no. My father was sick at the time. He had cancer, and I just felt it wasn't the right thing to do. So I passed on it. And ultimately, like I said, the recruiter called me, or the head HR person called me a year later and said, your resume's been sitting in my top drawer, and I now have something for you in Michigan. So we went back through the whole process, and I joined them.
So to dig a little further into the whole transition, what do you think you like best? Do you like best running the company? Do you like best what you were doing before when you were DJing? What's more been like something that's passionate versus something that you have to do because you have to make a living?
I really like what we do. And a lot of times you have people that own businesses that the first thing that they say is, oh, I just love what I do. And to be quite honest, I do what we do. But I like making money, and I do it because it makes money and it provides a great living for us and for our employees. But as far as I have a handful of clients that I still work with on a regular basis, most of our clients get dealt with through our sales channel and our team members. I try to focus working on the business, not in the business. So that is really what consumes my day to day, is the working on the business. And that's a really tough situation because I'm pulled in all different directions, and we've done a really good job at modifying that so I'm not pulled in a bunch of directions. My wife is the vice president of the company, and her goal is to disengage me on the client side so I can continue to focus on the business.
Yeah, that's a very good distinction. I think for most entrepreneurs that could be listening to the podcast or watching, when you go out there and you look at all these gurus, y'all say, what's your why? What's your why when you're starting your business? A lot of it goes back to passion, and people try to push passion, and even I do that myself. It's a good distinction when you talk about that. There's a passion side, but then at the end of the day, you still got to run a business. And sometimes the business itself is going to veer in the direction that is not your passion.
Correct.
And that kind of tells, and you're telling that story. Tell me, what kind of challenges did you face when you were going through that process of transitioning to the linen business? What were the challenges?
I think a lot of it started out with that there's always been local rental companies, local party supply, event supply businesses. And I actually chose right from the beginning that we were going to be a national rental company. I didn't want to bother with just the local level. I really jumped in with both feet, which presented its own challenges because naturally, when we moved into that realm, we're only competing with a handful of companies. And the same thing stands for today. There's only a handful of companies that do what we do on a nationwide scale. And we decided that was the model that we wanted to do. And we continually pushed that envelope. Deal with a lot of local companies. They're great companies that we deal with, but we do it in all 50 states and every single market. So it sets us a different trajectory for what we do.
Yeah. And one of the questions I had, I think I even asked this when we were talking, is how did you start acquiring your customers in that kind of business? Because I feel like it's so like niche. How did you go after your customers there?
Initially, in my mind, my first client set was the clients that were coming to us to DJ and video their events. So I figured I already had a market base right there. But then we brought on a company to design and develop a new website. And that really had to be very in-depth. And keep in mind, back in the early 2000s, websites weren't what they were today. The internet was still fairly young. So we had to really develop something that was going to work. And believe it or not, I can say today that my one main developer still works for us. And he's actually good friends. We talk all the time, and he's done a phenomenal job working for us. Really, our biggest thing is how we can drive traffic to our website. We don't do paid advertising, and we haven't for a long time. It's just not worth it. It doesn't generate the revenue.
So are you using social media to drive traffic?
We do. Our main channels are Instagram and Facebook. We have 21,000 followers on Instagram, 4,000 people on our Facebook page. LinkedIn, so we use that. Our industry is really photo driven. People want to see something. They don't really care the 1 or 2 or 3 sentences that I type. It's the photo that they're looking at. So it's really image driven for what we do. And that's really where we get the traffic.
One of our employees who was getting married, like even showed, like every time he showed me an event or a place that he wanted to hold his wedding, it's always through Instagram. And it's mostly the photos, just flipping through photos and figuring out what's the great look and feel that they're looking for their wedding and stuff like that. So I could totally understand that piece of it. What would you say as far as, so you were using social media to drive your business. Have you always been using social media to drive your business, or at the beginning? Let me go back actually, because I want to make sure I make this point. So when you first used the customer base that you already had because you were already in the industry, that's what you were saying?
Correct.
Okay. And you were probably already earning revenue there, right? Already generating some pretty good revenue?
We were.
I'm assuming? Okay.
Yes.
And then you reinvested back into your company by starting social media to try to bring in outside reach, right? The people that you didn't know.
We did. And what we did originally, obviously after developing the first version of our website, which is naturally has changed over the years. About 2 months ago, we launched a brand new version of the website that took us about 6+ months to build. When we first started out, I would say we did do some paid advertising. We used Google AdWords. At the time, I got decent return. If I spent $3,000 a month, I could 10x my return through the Google ads. And we kept ramping that up. The problem was that it got to the point where so many people were trying to do that the cost per click just didn't make sense. Now I'm paying 20, 30 cents per click, and then now you're getting clicks that are $2, $3, $5, $10 or more per click, and they just weren't qualified leads at that point. And we went back and forth with putting our price on the website and taking the price off the website. We did a lot of A/B testing over the years, and ultimately decided that the price needs to be on the website. We don't hide anything. If somebody wants to know how much an item is, it's on the website. If you go to Delta, you want to know how much the ticket is. You don't want to have to send a request to find out how much the ticket is.
Exactly.
So over time, our organic search rocketed, and the need for AdWords wasn't there. And I think when I go out on the internet and I search for things, by default, I skip past the first few ones because they're all sponsored listings and they're all paid listings. So I just developed the mindset that they're not quality leads at that point. They're just somebody's paying to be at the top and they're not doing the work to get there.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the things that I've noticed when it comes to marketing these days, because there's so many gurus out there that are teaching people how to do Google AdWords and doing Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff. And so it's so saturated right now. And like you said, those AdWords, the costs just keep going up because you could have been in a very tight niche, but now there's so many people just putting ads out there in those niches that the price is just ridiculous at this point. I know, like, we personally don't use Google ads or anything like that. We spent probably $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on Google ads for very low returns. And the worst thing for us, I don't know if you experience this in your business, but there's a lot of fake clicks. And when you have an online form or whatever through those ad funnels,
we've seen a lot of that. All they do is click it.
Yeah. And it's crazy because Google, they don't even pay attention to it. They're just like, oh yeah, thank you for $3,000. I appreciate it. And you're like, those aren't leads, those are bots.
We've even gone as far as on our website, we block a lot of the bots because they cause traffic on the server and they cause a demand on the server, but they don't do anything. We know that Facebook pushes a lot of them. All the sites push a lot of bots, and we block a majority of them now just because they cause more chaos than anything.
Absolutely. Can you share with me, like, what is the biggest success story you feel like you've had in your business up to this point?
What's my biggest success story? I think that our customer base and the clients that we work for speaks for ourselves. We have a lot of great large clients that are repeat clients. It's not just a one and done. And a lot of that is from the fact that it's word of mouth. Our business is people referring people on organic search. On average, our Google stats, we get about a million plus displays a month when people do searches for our website. It turns around, we average about 15 to 16,000 new visitors a month to our website.
That's high. That's good.
Yeah. So we have a lot of traffic. And I spend a lot of time looking at either real time what's going on our site. We use Microsoft Clarity so we can see what is going on and how people use our website. And actually we used that to take into account how we built our new website because we were watching users' interaction and how they were using it. And I don't know if you used Clarity or...
Yeah, I was going to jump in real quick and just let the audience know what Clarity was, maybe to help out with, because exactly what you were saying. So Clarity, essentially, very similar like Google Ads and something that you have a little tag, you put it on your website, but this thing is capturing something completely different. It's not only capturing the traffic to the site, it's also capturing hot zones where people are actually navigating on the site, on the interface. It gives you all of that feedback so that you can tweak your website to be more effective. You see exactly what your audience is doing on your website. It's a really great tool. It's free, and you can put that tag on your website and then just sign into your Clarity account. And it has video, so you can click on the video and see how people are interacting on your website. You could do it both as on demand, like someone who's been on your website before, or even if someone's on your website live, you can see the little icon and you click on it and you can watch how someone's navigating your website as they're on it. It's a really great tool. But go ahead. Tell me, how are you using Clarity?
Yeah, we actually found the pain points on the website. Obviously, like you said, Clarity uses heat maps. So you can see what areas are constantly getting clicked. And now with the shift to more people using mobile versus a desktop, obviously they're taking their finger and they're poking at the screen nonstop. So when I'm watching that, I'm watching the heat map, I'm looking at where they're going on the website. And if we come across areas where they keep constantly clicking the same spot over and over, we have to find out why. And we've looked at, is it a speed issue on the website? What is causing the load time? One of the things that we did with our new website is we went to a content delivery network for all of our images because we have, as I said earlier, our business is really image driven. It's an emotional decision. People want to see great pictures and that's how they choose stuff. It's not a matter of, hey, this is a great pencil and this is a different pen. So one of the big things for us is that our website's fast and that people are getting instant gratification by what they're looking for. And Clarity really helped that out for us to find the pain points on the website and remove as many as possible.
Yeah, what I love about it is the fact that not only do you see who's on your website, you can actually see what country they're from. It has some demographic information on the left panel so you can see other information. And we're a software engineering company, and so we have a lot of people from India that go and just click through our site. They're trying to just scrape stuff off of our site, and we can literally watch the bots and how they work. It's really funny. But the good thing about it is that we can see exactly where we're getting most of the focus coming to our website. We can see what country it's coming from. And then sometimes there's an IP address, and you can use IP address locators to see where they are in the States or something like that. There's a lot of things you could use it for. But that's a great tool.
No, we love it. And like you said, getting the analytics or getting demographics from where the people are coming from, we look at pieces even as far as what type of device are they using? Are they using an Android versus an iOS device? Are they using a tablet? Are they using a computer? Are they using a MacBook? And obviously, one of the big things for us is we have to test in all those scenarios when we develop the website to make sure that everything's working. Because just because you can open it in a browser on your PC doesn't mean it's going to work in a browser on an iPhone. And we have found menus have disappeared and buttons have disappeared. And we found glitches in code where had I not looked and had we not tested with a lot of devices, we would have people just saying, I give up. I can't figure it out.
Now, the thing is, and just to double back on this, because so the Clarity and what you're doing there, all of this pertains to the marketing side of the business and trying to attract the right customers and making sure that they're getting the right experience when they go to your website and everything. Do you have a full-on marketing strategy, like a sales funnel built into your business? Or is it like you go with some standard stuff and just monitor from there?
No, we do actually. And so our website and our daily workflow, we are integrated with HubSpot. So we track everything from the time the person lands on our website to all of the activity that they're doing, how long they're on each page, where they're going, and ultimately, does that result in a deal? Is it going to result in them requesting a quote, placing an order? What are they doing? When they come into our network, they get added into a marketing funnel. And based on a lot of different characteristics, how long they're in our system, do they stay in the marketing pipeline if they are never opening emails, if they're never responding? At some point, we built an automation so it will remove them from the marketing funnel because there's just no activity. It makes no sense to send out thousands of emails or thousands of touch points that get no activity. We also have a company that does our email channels and through our social media platforms. So we attack it from two different directions. We have our team and company that goes out for it, and then everything that comes in and how to evangelize on that and take advantage of what comes in. Because if we have all that data, we have to do something with it. Gathering it and not doing anything with it is just a waste of money.
So you have to use an external company to help you with your social media. Is that what you just said?
We do the social media. They're pushing. Actually, we just brought on a new marketing company. They are going to be doing outbound reach through their call center to bring in more corporate clients. And the social channel they're going to push the most drive on is Instagram. Internally, we still maintain and manage all of our daily social media presence. We brought them on to see if they can bring in the next level of clients and increase that business for us.
They're making outbound calls, get that first appointment for you? Is that what they're trying?
They are indeed. So they're reaching out. They do, obviously, through their methods, they scrape websites to get all of the contacts. And their goal is, let me get that call scheduled, let me get on that calendar, and let's get the quote process started. And as long as they bring in a certain amount of revenue, they've reached their metrics that we've agreed with them. And the goal with them is we did a 90-day commitment with them, a 3-month commitment, but I made it very clear, if you deliver as agreed, this will just keep going. There's no reason for me to stop it. If you're bringing in the numbers that we agreed on, then we will just continue and you'll just keep rolling along.
I just want to clarify for the audience. So while Lyle's talking about he's talking about a complete sales funnel. He's using social media like a flywheel to get people to his company and therefore aggregate them into their HubSpot so that they can provide email sequences and stuff like that to keep in touch with them.
Yeah. HubSpot will bring everybody in and they get thrown into sequences. There's a lot. Obviously, we have so many different doors that they're going to enter to the website. And then we keep track of each channel that they go. So just because they got onto the freeway doesn't mean they're all getting off at the same exit. So exactly. We have built all the segmentation so we know where they came from, where they're going. Because ultimately, as we pursue down different avenues, we need to make the decisions to go down the ones that make the most sense. I'm not going to go after the low-hanging fruit. We're going to go after what brings the business in and what grows the business.
I like the other strategy too, using an SDR, which is considered a sales development representative. And that person's job is to go get leads. Essentially, they book appointments. I'm sure if some of you who are listening have gotten phone calls from them, it's usually a person who'll get on the phone, they'll ask you a few questions, just qualify you as a potential customer. And the next step is to assign an actual appointment to meet with someone with the company that's a representative that can actually go further into the sales call and determine the fit and pricing and all that kind of stuff.
It is. And actually, we came across this company through a very good friend of mine. He had brought them on for his software company. And he saw great response from them. And actually, after their 90-day engagement, he re-upped and just kept them on. I got to say, we were probably not the easiest company for them to work with to get to the point where we signed a contract and said, okay, here's money, because we had so many questions and we had a lot of meetings. Fortunately, we knew we wanted to go forward, but I'm who asks a lot of questions before I just say, here you go. We want to make sure that we're hitching our wagon to the right, because I don't want to just throw good money after bad and not get a return on that investment. So we had to really vet the company significantly to make sure that, hey, you're going to provide what you say. And if not, here's what the agreement and how long you're going to do it for. Because when you hire a company like this, it's not cheap. You're investing a lot of money, and part of it is the leap of faith. But like I said, a good friend of mine had really good success with the company. So for me, that brought it closer and was more personal, because I had a real referral at that point. It wasn't like, hey, I heard of this company and they might be able to help you.
And just to tell you a quick story, I actually went through that whole process too. I found a company several years ago out of Missouri that did SDRs, and I hired them. And I think it cost me like $45,000 for the year. It was $4,500 per month. So right. I don't know how much that came out to. And when I got done, the biggest issue we had is customer avatars. We didn't have a really great customer avatar. And I think with these companies, that's the best part, is if you have a really good customer avatar and you know who your customer is, they can really kill it out there. We have an SDR now that's killing it out there because we focus primarily on getting the right customer avatar before we put them out there on the phone.
Absolutely.
And you guys already know your customer avatar. You guys already have years of experience in that. So
it is. And we've told them, because the big question now also comes, since we are nationwide, we ship and provide linens everywhere, but the seasonality changes from state to state. The busy event season in the northern states, Midwest, East Coast, is typically, the event season starts April, May through maybe October. But I live down in Florida most of the year. Our season down here typically picks up in September, October, and runs through about May. The seasons change partially because nobody wants to do an event when it's 90 degrees and 100% humidity in Florida. So we don't do as many events here. And we watch the traffic flow of our business and where we ship, and it's always, the flow works the same every year. It never changes. We do a lot of stuff in New York City, June, July, August. We do nothing, absolutely nothing, because all of the businesses leave for the summertime. So there's just nothing goes on in the city. In certain states, California, they do events year round, but the weather tends to be more consistent throughout the year. Not that they don't get 90-degree days, but they don't average 90-degree plus days for weeks on end like you do in Florida and Texas and the southern states. We see the business shift. So we had to then let the marketing company know, hey, these are the areas to market during these months of the year. So we're not calling them when they have zero desire to do an event.
And that's all based on data, right? You guys have tracked a bunch of data over time, and then you have your strategies based on that, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. We're giving them everything that we've acquired from years and years of gathering data.
So before you gathered that data, how did you make the distinction of when to go, like what seasons were and all that kind of stuff? Or did you just throw things out there and see where it landed?
Trial by fire. We learned. And again, back when we were using things like Google AdWords, we were really marketing. Originally, we started out where we were marketing to all 50 states. And then I started removing certain areas where there just wasn't business. There's not a whole lot that goes on in the middle of the country. So for me to even pay to display ads in those areas made no sense. And then we started looking at what times of the year do we want to display to what markets. So we started adjusting that part. As a result, like I said, we got out of the paid ad realm. So that's really it's really nothing that we focus on much anymore. But with 20 plus years, we know where the events are happening and when they're happening during the seasons, because they just shift.
It's funny. You keep mentioning something, and because of my ADD, I keep losing it when you're in the middle of talking. But you hit on the point of, I think I remember exactly what it was you were talking about. Everything you said, trial by fire. We talked about your sales funnel, and you talked about trial again, right? So one thing I wanted the audience to understand, because I had to learn this too, and I'm sure you could speak to this as well, is when it comes to the business marketing side, there's a lot of coaches and a lot of things out there that are like, hey, you should do it this way, you should do it that way, and they're very definitive about it. This works. Like, they make it sound like everything that they do works, and it's because they made it work at some point. But the reality is, most of the time, and I feel this way, again, you may be able to add some color to this, but I feel like we're always trying stuff. There's never, oh, I'm going to do this and I know this is going to give me this result. There's always, we have to try. And then if it doesn't work, try something else. I feel like we're always in a trial when we're doing this stuff.
If you don't change or you don't try to adopt and adapt to new things, you're not going to grow. Any business, if the business says, hey, great, we sell this one widget and we're not going to develop anything new, they're going to hit a glass ceiling and that's going to be it because everybody's already acquired that widget. With us, we're looking at different markets and we're trying to figure out, how do we break through into different markets? How do we break through into different verticals and categories? And what makes the most sense? Our business is pretty equally split between social and corporate. So we don't have our eggs all in one basket. So if all of a sudden nobody was doing weddings anymore, it wouldn't affect us significantly. But when we get into the corporate side, now the question is, where do we focus our effort? And we try certain avenues, and if it doesn't work, we try something different. And that goes back to why we brought in the marketing company, because their job is really, how do we break into different areas? We're in a country with over 330 million people. There's always going to be events. There's always going to be something out there. We just want to get the business.
Listeners out there, I just want to touch on that too. He's talking business, he's talking technology. It's two things that are necessary. You have all the business strategies, the trials, but then you have to use certain technologies to help you get there, like the social media tools and HubSpot and the sales tools and things like that, in order to be able to help you get there. And so it's a combination of two. It's really difficult to do it without it. Tell me, for you, how is technology helping you as the entrepreneur?
So for me, as I mentioned to you, I started out in the technology world. So my mind is very process driven. It's very technology oriented. So I'm always looking at how to work smarter, not harder. And a lot of that is achieved by having the right technology, by having the right programs and processes in place. We don't just write stuff down or create a spreadsheet. We use the right type of rental management software and the right type of software for all of the different facets of our business, even to the point where all of our washers are computer controlled, our ironers are computer controlled. So we know exactly what's going in, what's coming out, how long it took to wash, what it cost to wash, how long it takes to do something. That's all driven with technology. Can it be done without? Yes. Can it be done efficiently without? No. Maybe I over-engineer certain things for the company because of my technology background, but at the end of the day, it makes sense. And like I said, I'm working on the business. So I have an office in Florida. I have an office in Michigan. I don't always see my staff. I'm on Teams meetings all the time. So they don't always know what I'm doing. And sometimes when I roll something out or we implement something new, I have to remember that I have to spend time explaining why I'm doing what I'm doing, not saying, hey, this is what we're going to do and get with the program. So once I have explained to everybody and showed them, then I get the aha moment with the team, with the staff. Then they say, that makes sense. Now I understand why you kept asking us all these questions about how we do something or how we get from point A to point Z. For me, we look at technologies. How can we put in an order faster, more efficient, with 100% accuracy? And that's how I look at things, because our type of industry and our type of business, we don't sell office supplies. If we forget to ship a box of pencils, people say, oh, just ship it tomorrow. We're shipping stuff for events. We're shipping linens and products that are time sensitive. So technology is very crucial to make sure that we don't make mistakes. that we do everything possible to mitigate human error. It doesn't mean that people can't make mistakes, because to err is human, but we really put all of these processes into place to limit that exposure for a mistake.
So I'm going to ask you a question here that probably, I don't know if we talked about this before, but because you do implement technology around your business, like you just mentioned, have you thought about how AI is going to affect your business in the future, or if it will at all?
We use AI quite a bit now, actually. So again, back to the working on the business. One of the big things as we redeveloped our new website was creating the website and creating all the functionality. But then we've gone back to how do we use AI to write better product descriptions, to get us better metadata for our products, to get better SEO for all the links on our website. So I use ChatGPT all day, every day, as I'm constantly going through the website, because our website has about 1,500 individual items on it. So even though we already rolled out the website, we're constantly updating the pages on a daily basis. So obviously you can only get through so many pages a day, because nobody's come up with an AI tool that'll do it on its own. It still requires a lot of input. We have rolled out AI as far as we utilize it for our email blasts, our newsletters. We use AI for our social media posts. We use AI to put together all of the answers that we're putting out on a daily basis. AI is not going to be able to run the business, but it really works well to get our message out to the clients. There's a fine line, but you definitely still have to watch AI to make sure that it gives you the correct answers, because it is capable of mistakes. But we've really embraced it quite a bit. Mainly this year is really where we've moved a lot of stuff into that channel. The next step that we're working on right now is our chat bot on our website to implement AI. Our first attempt with our chat feature on our website and AI didn't go over very well. We provided the chat tool with all of our data, all of our products, all of our pricing, all of the information. But when I was asking it questions in a sandbox environment, it was giving me answers that just didn't make sense. It was giving us bad output. So for the chat feature, we paused that for a little bit. And since we're moving our chat to another platform, we're going to try it again.
So every marketing expert that I know has told me that Claude is the better engine and model for a lot of that type of stuff.
Okay.
Like anything that's, if you go to it's Anthropic is the name of the company, and they make Claude. And it literally is like a competitor to ChatGPT. It's $20 a month, same thing for the pro version. Almost every marketing professional I talk to, they're moving all of their copy for their ads and everything over to that chatbot or AI chatbot. So take a look at that, see how that works for you. Because I'm telling you, I'm using it. We switched over from ChatGPT. We're using it, and it's doing an amazing job with all of our marketing, social media, everything. It's very contextual, so it stays on point when it comes to context, which is the biggest issue that we've had with ChatGPT in the past.
We've had, from what I think, pretty good success with ChatGPT. A lot of it relies on the data that you give it to begin with. And if people don't know, it's constantly learning. And it's learning not just by scouring the web, but it's learning based on me saying, no, I want it to read like this. No, I want it to be more concise. No, I want the metadata under 160 characters. And it's almost as if I scold the software enough, it starts to say, okay, I got it now. And okay, you've told me where I've made mistakes. Now I'm going to do it right.
And it's so nice. It's always, oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I missed that. And then it gives you the right answer.
And then every once in a while it pops up and says, which one do you like, A or B?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, stop giving me choices now. Let's just get it done.
All right, so moving back towards the business side of it. So where do you see your business in the next 5 years?
I think we'll double our business in the next 5 years. One of the unfortunate outcomes of COVID was it right-sized the industry, and not just in our industry. It did it worldwide with all different verticals. It got rid of companies that probably shouldn't have been around to begin with, or shouldn't have still been open Fortunately, we went into COVID with a healthy balance sheet and we exited it. Obviously, we spent about a year not working. That was really because we weren't allowed to. Our industry was based on people getting together socially, so we couldn't do it. We came out of it a stronger company, and we've been on an upward trajectory that I don't see slowing down at any time. We've really adapted what we do, and our client base has grown significantly just through the marketing and our acquisition of new clients. It seems like we'll be double of where we're at now.
That's good to hear, especially knowing that in some other industries, the economy's slowed down a bit. So that's actually cool to hear that you guys have a plan to double up next year. Let me transition. We're going to transition now to more personal. We've learned a lot about your company and technology use and everything, but I want to know a little bit more about you. First question, what is a hobby or interest outside of work that keeps you grounded?
If I'm in Michigan, we live on a lake, so we go boating as often as possible. Otherwise, a majority of the year, we live in Florida. Our kids go to school down here. And I go for walks with my wife and my dog.
Awesome. Those are really good. We don't go for walks. We just sit on a couch next to each other, just talk.
No, we do that too. We used to watch a lot of TV, and we don't as much anymore. Our nightly walks with the dog and just getting out is something that we look forward to.
That's awesome. That's good to know. And so that actually goes to my next question is, how do you unwind after a busy day? I'm assuming that's the same answer, right?
It is. And one of the big things, as we grew this business over the years, we worked a lot of hours. There wasn't such a thing. We didn't work banker's hours. We worked early in the day till late at night. Obviously, we always made time for our kids, and now we have grandkids. And that was really important to us. And now we're at the point, as I mentioned earlier, where my wife is the vice president of the company. She tends to try to talk about work when we're at home. I personally won't talk about work. My answer to her is email me. She's not always happy with it as an answer, but outside of work, we just don't want to talk about it. Yeah. Unless it's something critical that has to be talked about at that moment, we could talk about it the next day. I leave my computer in my office. So when I go home at night, I'm not working. It doesn't mean that I'm not looking at my cell phone and seeing some emails come in, but it's taken a lot to be able to have the discipline to disconnect and to just say, you know what, I'll get to that tomorrow. Because let's be honest, no email that I send at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night is going to accomplish anything that can't be taken care of at 9 in the morning. It's not going to make a difference. And when you realize that it's not going to change the outcome by waiting until the morning, you are able to disconnect.
What's great about that is, for the audience, you hear that you could be successful, have a successful business, and you can disconnect. You don't have to go 24/7 and try to make everything happen as quickly as possible. You can disconnect and spend some time with your loved ones.
Don't get me wrong. It's not uncommon that I can go down a rabbit hole and I could sit at my computer and I can, all of a sudden, you look at the clock and say, holy cow, look at where it's at. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I told my wife in the morning I had taken our daughter to camp and dropped her off at 7:45 in the morning. So I said to my wife, I'm going to sit in front of my computer for about an hour. I've got some stuff I want to get done, so I can go onto my Monday with a clean mailbox. But there's many times that I can disconnect from email Friday night and I don't care about it till Monday morning because it's not going to change the outcome. And I want to spend time with my family, with my friends. I don't want to be remembered for the guy who worked around the clock every day. And it's great that he left money to his wife and kids, but he didn't get to enjoy the time with them.
Exactly. That's a great saying right there. Favorite book, movie, or podcast?
I'm not a reader. Books.
That is interesting. I know that's a really interesting one, that you're not a reader.
I like the pictures.
Picture books.
I'm not somebody who could sit down and just get into a book. I don't have the discipline to do that because what happens is I'll fall asleep. If I have insomnia, give me a book. It'll take care of me. But at nighttime, I do read. I like the news. I'll sit down at nighttime before bed and I'll scour the internet to read a bunch of news, see what's going on here, there, everywhere. So I do that. And when I'm driving, I probably listen to the news in my car more than anything else. But when it comes to movies, I like Marvel movies.
Did you watch Deadpool already?
I have not. I'm a Marvel fan, and the new movie with Wolverine, I don't know if you saw that. They sold 38 million tickets on the preview night.
I went twice.
Okay.
I've already seen it twice. It's that good. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'll see it probably this coming week, but it was the biggest launch of any movie to sell 38 million tickets on a preview night.
Yeah.
Which is just incredible. I'm a Wolverine fan. I'm not a DC Comics person.
You'll love it.
All right, I'm
It'll
sure.
be awesome. Let me see. If you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be? And why?
Question with 3 people or, it said any 3 people.
You could pick one. Just pick one.
I was thinking about that. It's a tough question to answer. Honestly, if I could have dinner with anybody, I would like it to be my father, who passed away 25 years ago, because he didn't get to see my family. He didn't get to see my kids and grandkids. But I think business-wise is odd.
Father's a good answer. It doesn't have to be business-wise.
But
that was a great answer.
I think that if it was business-wise, I would actually like to go to dinner with Elon Musk. He's really an odd character, but I think he's a brilliant individual. And just to have a conversation with him, I'd really enjoy a conversation. I don't know what we would talk about, but to be able to have a conversation with him would be great. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of good friends, and I enjoy the conversations that I have because I'm always learning something from somebody. A very good friend of mine is a senator, but I'm always spending time with him, and I'm learning a lot.
Do you see yourself running for office one day?
Never. No, I would have to get out in front of that and just say, full disclosure, when I was younger, I was a jerk. I'm sure I upset some people, and I'm sorry. But honestly, I had even said to my wife, I said, I won't say my friend's name because I want to give him that privacy. But I said, I wouldn't mind going and working in his administration in politics if the opportunity ever came up to do that, because I would be doing it for the knowledge and the challenge. It's definitely, I wouldn't be getting into it for financial gain because they don't make a lot of money.
In theory, they don't make a lot of money.
No, in theory, they don't. But for me, I would appreciate the challenge. I'm always looking for a new challenge in life. Like I said, when we discuss if we ever want to build another business or create another something, what would that be? And it's not always financially driven. You never know. I don't want to run for politics, no. But would I mind working in that arena? No, I think it'd be interesting.
It's funny you say that because I just listened to a podcast from, I don't know if you've ever seen the Think podcast on YouTube. I don't know if you ever see those guys at all. They had this whole discussion about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And it says how our perception of what we want to do next is based on where we are on that. So when you're down at the survival level, you're not thinking about like other things you want to do. It's once you've met certain needs, then you look for other challenges that are beyond those needs. You just made me think of that because like you just said, you have a successful business, you're doing well, you have projected growth, all this kind of stuff. In your mind, you're like, I'd like another challenge. It's always like that. It's like you've accomplished something. When you've met the certain needs that you were going for, the most fundamental needs, then we tend to start thinking of other things we'd like to get into.
Yeah, I can say that we've worked a long time. We're very fortunate, and it's not always about money. At the beginning, I have to provide for food, shelter, vehicles, clothing, everything. And now we're at the point in our lives where I'm looking for a different challenge. I'm always looking for something, but it doesn't have to be necessarily financial driven because that's not my main concern anymore. It's what can I learn more? What can I do different? How can I grow?
Last question. What would be the advice you'd give to any aspiring entrepreneur out there that's looking at building a business, whether it be tech or brick and mortar?
I would say find a mentor, somebody that you can talk to. They're out there and they'll do it for free. As I mentioned, my father passed away 25 years ago. So he owned a business. He's very, very good in business, but I didn't have that person close to me. And fortunately, my stepmother, who's an awesome person, she is dating somebody who same age as my father. He is the person that I've leaned on now for the past 17, 18 years. He's retired CEO of a bank, knows a lot, has shared a lot with me, has told me plenty of times that I was doing something stupid, but he's had reason to justify it. And I think that if you find a mentor to talk to. Unless you are in a business that has a trade secret, there's no secrets. It's just who does a better job at it. For us, we provide half of our products are commodities. It's like buying a gallon of milk. A bunch of companies carry it. We give you better quality and we give you better customer service. So people are going to pay for that. So when you find that mentor that's going to help you with those questions, you have to ask the questions and let them poke holes in it. But you have to be willing to accept what they say. And if you want to grow, you have to listen. Spend more time listening, less time talking, and you'll succeed. It doesn't happen overnight. This isn't like winning the lottery. It takes time, perseverance, motivation. You have to want it. And I've talked to people for years and years. I talked to one individual. She grew a very successful company and turned around and sold it. And I was super happy for her. And when she came back afterwards and said, "You helped me get to where I can accomplish that." So for me, that's great. I want to see people successful. The guy that has a gas station on one corner doesn't fight with the guy in the other corner. Both of them want to succeed. So they're going to help each other out. What makes the most sense? So definitely I circle back, find a mentor, somebody you can talk to.
Awesome. Great advice, especially the mentor thing. It's great advice. How do people find you?
If they go to fabulousevents.com, they can find us. That's FABULOUS events with an S.com. Check out our website. You'll see a lot of great products. You'll see a lot of great images, as I mentioned, and reach out to us. We'd love to help them out.
You heard it there, everybody. Just go to fabulousevents.com. Thank you very much, Lyle, for being on today's podcast. Great information, great talk about everything, business, marketing, technology, and then the personal stuff. And thank you for sharing the information about like your father and your mentors and stuff like that. That's just very personal. I think our audience will really appreciate that because you laid everything out on the table. So everyone who's listening, definitely go find Lyle, go to his company, support his company, especially if you're looking for the types of products and services that he has. Please, by all means, just go there. And we'll put all the information in the show notes so that you can access all of the information, plus his link to his site and everything. Any final thoughts, Lyle, before we go?
One of the things that you had asked and on the sheet that we never talked was, what was the best advice you ever received? Cash is king. Just remember that.
Appreciate it. And everyone, like, follow, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, any one of those locations. And definitely, like I said, look up Lyle. And Lyle, thank you very much. I appreciate you being on the podcast today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.